Welcome to the program. Our sign language interpreter is Maresha Owiti. 15 Kenya Defense Forces soldiers who survived the Al-Shabaab attack on their base in Gedo, Somalia, have returned home. Of the 15, only one was slightly injured. They arrived home. As such, rescue and recovery efforts continue in Somalia, even as the government remains tight-lipped on the number of casualties from the Friday dawn attack. KTN's Rita Tinina begins our coverage tonight.
A day after 4 Kenya Defense Forces soldiers who were injured during a dawn attack by the Al-Shabaab in Somalia last Friday were airlifted back home, 15 soldiers who survived the attack on their base in Somalia arrived back home shortly after midday. They were received at the Wilson Airport by the Chief of Defense Forces, General Samson Mwathethe, and the Defense Cabinet Secretary, Rachel Omamo. For one soldier, it was an emotional return back home. Another soldier, walking with a slight limp, was still holding on to his firearm.
These heroes do not bear physical injuries, but are extremely exhausted and tired by the ordeal that they went through.
It remains unclear how many soldiers lost their lives, how many were injured, and how many are still missing. The government has opened support centers for affected families at KDF barracks in Nairobi, Eldoret, and Gilgil. Families can get information on their loved ones through 24-hour helplines at the Defense Forces headquarters, Forces Memorial Hospital, Eldoret, and Gilgil barracks.
Search, rescue and recovery operations are ongoing in the operational areas.
The attack by Al-Shabaab militants was carried out using 3 vehicles packed with explosive devices which were driven into the KDF and Somali National Army camps. The vehicle-borne IEDs were commandeered by suicide bombers. The attack affected a company-sized force. A company is headed by a major and consists of a minimum of 80 and a maximum of 250 soldiers. An undisclosed number of soldiers who were injured during the attack are being treated at the military base in Wajir. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Meanwhile, families whose sons had been deployed to El Ade, where the Kenya Defense Forces camp was attacked, are asking for information about their kin. KTN's Marcy Kandia met some of these families and now reports.
A father's gaze, lost in thought. He's not the only one. At Lelmoko village, Nandi County, about 10 families are in this state. Some break down at some point. They are yet to know the fate of their sons. 22-year-old Kimeli Wesley is among them, who lost communication with his family the night before the attack.
Asubuhi ndio tukapata ripoti ya kwamba Somalia imepigwa. Al-Shabaab wamepiga KDF na tulikuwa tunajua ndugu yetu ameenda huko since last year, mwisho wa December.
Their frustration here, though, is the lack of communication on the fate of their sons after the reported attack in El Ade, Somalia on Saturday.
So hatujui ni nini inaendelea. Unajua ingekuwa peta the government ongetueleza is still alive. Sababu tumeona wale wameletwa Kenya, our brother is not among. So even as we are worried back home, we are suffering kabisa, tunaumia.
Sinaomba serikali aonyeshe sisi watoto wetu kama amekwenda, kama iko seme, kama amekufa lete sisi mwili tukuje tufunike.
Tents are put up here not for planning of a burial, but to accommodate the visitors who come in. The mother's phone has to stay with enough battery charge. Her name was put as the next of kin. Every phone call, every minute builds up more anxiety.
Kama tumeumia nyumbani hapa. Atulale usiku na mchana.
Sasa na mwili kwa wapi? Tabadalini. Lete sisi mwili tukuje tufunike. Kama ni chifu tabadale, kama ni mwili lete sisi.
Elijah Kosgei walks hand in hand with his elderly father. His younger brother's fate is also unknown. His wife traveled to Eldoret early morning to the Moi Barracks base in a trip they say was to register family information.
Huko wamesema tunaandika tu report na mnawaje report hivyo. Na wakapatia yeye mobile number ya kupikia baadaye. Lakini for now hatuna any other information.
The silence here stands. No one is able to plan or go about normal activity. All they do is wait. One wait they all describe as disturbing. Family and friends continue to flock in at the home of Mzee Samson Kericho. The family here says it's not just a story of sadness, but one of frustration. They tell me they could use with some information on the fate of their kin. Masi Kandie, KTN News, Lelmokwa Village, Nandi County.
The latest as the DOD will be given some 24-hour helplines where families and relatives can call for more information. Let's switch gears now, and the new commissioners to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission was sworn in today, taking on the task of spearheading the anti-graft war in the country. Philip Kinisu is the new chairman of the commission, a seat that has seen all its previous occupants exit in whims of controversy. KTN's Sharon Wamanyi takes us back through this history, even as the country looks to a future of a more stringent fight on corruption.
I, Philip Kundubuyai Kinisu, having been appointed the chairperson to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
After months of a crippled commission, the EACC received a breath back to life on Monday as 5 commissioners were sworn into office. Rose Mgoi Mtambo Masharia, Dabar Maalim Abdi,
do swear that I will at all times
Paul Mwaniki Gashoka,
discharge the trust, perform the functions, and exercise the powers.
Sophia Lupuchirit,
favor, bias, affection,
and Philip Kinisu,
so help me God,
who takes up the chairman's position, finally took oath of office after their nomination by President Uhuru Kenyatta in November 2015 and vetting by the National Assembly in December.
And we are aware that the road ahead is not a smooth one, but we do not go to give up, because as a number of people have said, corruption in our country is endemic. Perhaps we are at a place where we may not be able to get ourselves out. We refuse to accept that.
You take office at a time when the nation's anti-corruption narrative is binary, one that shows that the government is pulling itself together to fight this vice, and another that accuses the government of continuing to perpetrate grand theft.
The 5 were nominated after a rather controversial exit of former commissioners Mumo Matemu, Irene Keino, and Jen Onsongo mid-2015. Not a new picture, as Kenya's war on corruption has been dogged by intrigues from the very beginning. It started with this man, John Haron Mwau, who in December 1997 was appointed the first director of the then newly created Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority. But the ex-policeman would soon fall into trouble when he sought to prosecute 4 top treasury and tax officials on alleged fraud on non-collection of taxes relating to wheat and sugar imports. A tribunal was quickly put together to prosecute Mwau, and in November of 1998, he resigned, sending Kenya's war on graft on a spiral. It turned out that the Kenya Anti-Corruption Authority had been given powers to prosecute without an amendment to the Constitution that at that time confined such powers to the office of the Attorney General.
Who gave you authority to write these things to me? Have you read the Prevention of Corruption Act?
Justice Aaron Ringera, who as Solicitor General had been a witness at the Mwau Tribunal, was later appointed as the new director of CASA in March of 1999. But on December 22nd of 2000, the courts finally dealt CASA a death blow, declaring it unconstitutional. With pressure mounting on the KANU government from both the IMF and the World Bank, the government appointed an anti-corruption police unit to take over all the 139 cases that were being investigated by the authority. But the unit's mandate remained unclear and its independence was questioned by critics. A ray of hope came in 2003 when, in the early days of the NAC administration, the Kenya Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act was passed, putting in place the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, KACC. And once again, Aaron Ringera was given the job of reviving Kenya's faltering war on graft. Ringera would become famous for his Shakespeare quotes and promises of fire and brimstone for the corrupt. But Parliament refused to endorse his reappointment. Ringera bowed out on 30th of September 2009. Ringera declared that the war on corruption would never succeed until the Commission was given powers to prosecute, to seize assets and passports, and require public officials to declare wealth whenever it deemed fit.
And for those who perennially complain that cats only deals with the small fish, let me ask you to reflect on this.
But the Commission was in for more drama. Next on stage, Professor Patrick Loch Otieno Lumumba.
The next 2 to 3 weeks, we expect that about between 5 and 10 high voltage files.
PLO would hit the ground running, even joining street demonstrations on occasion. But curtains would close on his commission stage in the middle of 2010 when he declared that he was training his guns on top officials and members of parliament.
Fight against corruption will be conducted without fear, favor, or ill will, for the sake of this country and for the sake of this generation and generations yet to be born.
That would pave way for a fresh controversy over the appointment of Mumo Matemu as the chairperson of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. When he was nominated by the Grand Coalition principals, President Mwai Kibaki and Prime Minister Raila Odinga, several integrity issues came to the fore, leading a parliamentary committee on legal affairs to recommend that he be dropped. The decision was later reversed during debate on the report about him. In March 2015, lawyer Geoffrey Oriaro, now deceased, petitioned to have Matemu and his deputy Irene Kano removed from office, arguing that the two were incapable of leading the war against corruption. MPs voted in favor of removing them and gave the recommendation to the president. A tribunal was formed to investigate Matemu and EACC's other two commissioners, but they would all resign before investigations began. And now, next on stage is Philip Kinisu, with all eyes on his script following a chain of dramatic exits by his predecessors. Questions asked include, is the Anti-Graft Commission one that has enemies within? Is it independent? Or is it an institution used as a smokescreen as the war on graft continues on a limbo? The new commissioners assume office amidst an escalated fight against corruption in the country. But the biggest battle they may have to fight is that of restoring public confidence in the EACC, an institution that has for a long time been branded a toothless dog. Sharon Momanyi, KTN News at the Supreme Court, Nairobi.
The hot seats and revolving doors at Integrity Center from Aaron Ringera to PLO Lumumba and Mumo Matemu, and numerous claims of corruption fighting back. On the big question tonight, we are asking you, do you believe the revamped EACC will now deliver? Do you believe the revamped Philip Kinisu headed Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission will now deliver? Share your views with us. The SMS line, as always, is 22155. On Twitter, you can share your opinions online. The handles are at Ben_Kitili, at KTN News, and at KTN Kenya. Shall be sampling those views during this live newscast. Many thanks for staying with us here on KTN Prime. We're taking a quick break. We'll be back soon with more news. Stay with us. You're watching KTN Prime. Police have arrested 2 men whom they describe as kingpins in a money laundering ring with $693 million worth of fake currency. Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet said an additional 369 million euros was seized during a haul in a house along Mombasa Road. The IG says the Cameroon and Niger nationals were arrested following a tip-off from a member of the public and warned anybody dealing in fake money that their days are numbered.
In that we have arrested 2 individuals, one a Cameroonian, the other one a national of Niger, in connection with this huge haul of fake foreign currency. From our initial investigations, we have discovered that they are the kingpins of a transnational hard currency counterfeiting ring that is aimed at fleecing unsuspecting members of the public, both inside this country and beyond, obviously of the hard-earned money. We came by this huge haul based on a tip-off by a member of the public that some individuals have been conned of 40 million Kenya shillings, purportedly in exchange of US dollars and euros that had been shipped in from Syria. The subsequent police operation led to the discovery of, believe you me, 693 fake US dollars. I repeat, 693 million US dollars in fake currency. We also discovered 600,000 million fake euros, and they're all here for you to see.
In Kenya, a report by the East African Institute at the Aga Khan University has revealed glaring moral and ethical contradictions among the youth. Now, according to the report, a large percentage of the youth are corruptible, despite the fact that a whopping 85% of those polled are deeply religious. Unemployment and good governance, however, rank highly among priority concerns for the Kenyan youth.
Kenya is largely a youthful country. The median age is estimated at 19 years, and about 80% of Kenya's population is below 35 years. To a large extent, Kenya's youth will determine the shape of the country's future. A majority of Kenyan youth are largely optimistic about a future that guarantees better access to quality education, health, and more jobs for them.
48% of the young people we interviewed actually think that it is their ordained mission to actually create jobs. I think they've been listening to you a lot when you say you don't just go to school to get a certificate and start looking for a job. Stop pounding the pavement. Go and create a job. So they're listening.
What are the challenges the Kenyans are facing? And I can tell you today, some of the challenges we're facing in this country is the issue of corruption, is the issue of good harvest, quality product and services. We are still Juakari.
When asked what they value the most, 85% valued faith first, 60% valued family first, whereas 45% of youth valued work. However, while work is a respected value, 50% believe it doesn't matter how one makes money, and 30% believe corruption is profitable.
Integrity should always come first. You get more through integrity. It's not a matter of just making a buck per day. There should be more to you than that. If you've read, there's something that Steve Jobs said. He says that he worked all his life making money, but at the end of the day, what do you have to say for it?
It's true, most of the people, most of the youth, they are considered not honest and stuff, but it's because we are not given the right channel. If you are like employed, trust me, you'll have to be, because you want to keep that job, so you'll have to be honest.
Youth should strive to use honest ways to get money, because at the end of the day, you cannot, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Unemployment was by far the top concern at 63%, while other concerns were lack of access to capital at 11%, and 9% of youth want the government to address investment opportunities. While a majority of Kenyan youth would like to go into business, Only 26% wish to pursue white-collar jobs such as engineering, law and medicine, while 11% of Kenya's youth wish to farm.
Issue, it's quite evident that most of the youth are employed, not only the youth, but even the graduates, you see. So the government should take up the challenge because the youth their voice has been heard. So the government, instead of politicking over each and every issue, they should strive. The matters they discuss in parliament, they should discuss issues dealing with the youth.
I did tourism I finished in 2013. I graduated actually. I've done my attachments in Mombasa, in Masai Mara, everywhere. But you get is a contract of 6 months, you get. So when it comes to the employment sector now, when you apply for the job, it's very hard to get what I studied. So even right now I'm from work, I'm doing marketing as a career right now, and I didn't even study marketing in school.
Employment is also good. We should encourage people to be self-employed. We should not look up to the government to give employment to everyone because it's probably not available.
I'd rather be self-employed because I'll make money on my own terms, I'll make my own rules, my own vision and mission. Rather than being employed, you're working for somebody else and, you're just helping them create a better themselves, not you. It's not always about you, but it's good to improve yourself and to bring new things into the country, into the industry.
With Kenya's youth entrepreneur spirit well intact, a whopping 90% believe it is important to vote, while 70% would want to make a difference with the power they have, and a strong 40% believe it is vital to pay taxes.
Interesting. Let's take you to the political supremacy battles currently ongoing in the South Rift ahead of the March 7th senatorial by-election. Baringo Senator Gideon Moi and Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto have joined hands to dislodge Jubilee in Kericho. The two officiated at the launch of KANU candidate Paul Sang for the forthcoming by-election.
Making an entrance into Moi Gardens in Kericho, Senator Gideon Moi and Governor Isaac Ruto were united in purpose. They will campaign for former Minister Paul Sang, who holds the KANU ticket for the Kericho by-election.
Pesa, maendeleo, that's why mimi nasema yangu inakaa namna hii. Yani salat ni, lakini tunafanya kazi pamoja na KANU.
Iko tabu nyingi ambayo imetufikisha, lakini ile mlango ambayo tunajua tunaweza kuponjelea kutoka ni county government na devolution, ambayo mali tunajua itakuja hapa kwetu, na ndio hiyo tunataka watu ambayo ni shupavu.
The KANU candidate is seeking the seat for a second time. He lost to Charles Keter in 2013. If successful, Sang would hand KANU its second political seat in the South Rift.
Those are 1-2 million lives lost. So we're asking the government to open an inquiry for our soldiers who were mercilessly killed.
Apart from Sang and Jubilee's Aaron Cheriot, the other hopeful for the Kericho senatorial seat is Bishop Daniel Tanui of former Minister Nicholas Biwot's National Vision Party.
On the big question tonight, the new commissioners to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC have taken oath of office. On the big question we are asking you, do you believe that the revamped EACC will now deliver? Abikar Mohammed on Twitter says EACC with its current top officials will never reform. We need a new secretariat. Paul Mwani says Kenya government has established EACC to get donor funding, but no way you can fight these powerful cartels. And another one here says the new commissioners, George Rai, the new commissioners of EACC must be given prosecution powers and must be independent from government interference. And Chep Emmanuel on Twitter says, no, without power to prosecute and real freedom, we're just sugarcoating corruption. Many thanks for your views on tweets. Keep them coming. We'll now take a break, after which we shall be taking a look at the latest in business. Stay with us. Welcome to KTN Business. The government, in partnership with tourism industry players, is set to launch initiatives to improve the beach product to complement the recent charter incentives, which are expected to increase visitation to the Kenyan coast. The drive is part of a renewed focus on the sector to look for groundbreaking solutions to the sector's challenges and to demonstrate just how diverse tourism products are here in Kenya. Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala jumped out of a perfectly fine aircraft as he sought to attract adventure lovers and thrill seekers. KTN's Michael Karanja now reports.
Since taking up the tourism docket in December 2015, Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala has been challenging industry players to look out of the box ideas to revive and market the struggling sector. And to prove his point, the CS took to the skies, literally. The skydive was the CS's unconventional challenge to promote the country's resurgent tourism industry, which has been blighted by years of terrorist attacks and negative travel advisories. And rather than just tell tourists of what Kenya has to offer, the CS decided to lead by example and show them.
I think there's adventure on the beach as well, and that's why I did this. So adventure is not just coming to the beach. Sometimes people can say it's boring, just sitting on the sun and swimming. But the skydiving, sailing, and many others. So this is one of the exciting things. Somebody should do it once in a lifetime.
The 11,000-foot jump is part of the tourism marketing campaign to showcase Kenya's other tourism sectors offering. Traditionally, Kenya has been big on safari and beach tourism, with little in between for adventure lovers and thrill seekers. And now the country appears to be diversifying tourism products to reach out to a wide array of visitors, particularly the younger demographic. The tourism sector has been taking a beating since the increased terror-related attacks on the country and negative travel advisories. Mass cancellation of charter flights from the UK and elsewhere left the multi-billion shilling tourism industry bereft of business and made a big dent on the country's economy, with the sector shrinking for the last 5 quarters. Arrivals dropped by almost 20% last year, depriving Kenya of much-needed foreign exchange and threatening the 500,000 jobs in the country's broader hospitality industry. But the skydiving cabinet secretary believes the tide could be turning.
Well, definitely we are going to see an upward trend. I'm optimistic. We've invested a lot. And I think the positive image we have currently, we will ride on it. But we will want to create more positive narrative stories about Kenya. And not about stories only, but it's about the reality. Look at this white sandy beach on Watamu. Look at Diani. Yeah? Look at Mombasa. So a lot of things we have, but we need just to tie them up and be able to package them properly for the tourist.
The CES is hoping the winds bring good fortune once again to the coastal belt and the entire tourism sector. Michael Karanja, KTN Business.
Over the last few years, banana farming in Kenya has seen a steady drop in production due to attack by pests and diseases, as well as overproduction of the same crop variety. But now a few farmers have embraced a new technology to improve the yield. The banana tissue culture that helps eliminate and ensures that only the best and healthy bananas are grown. This is expected to improve yields. Here's Philip Keitani with this week's edition of The Next Frontier.
The introduction of tissue culture banana farming has thrown a lifeline to farmers who at one point contemplated giving up the farming practice. Take Joyce Masharia, a banana farmer in Baringo County, for instance. With a 5-acre farm, Joyce realized the struggles that farmers from the Rift Valley were going through in their search for high-quality banana seed, with the only place providing the seedlings being the Jomo Kenyatta University of Technology.
So basically in this stage, the cocoa peat media does not have any nutrients. So you may need to add a bit of fertilizer for you to be able to feed your plants for them to grow well. And they stay in the trays for approximately 1 month.
But with a large number of farmers seeking the same seed, some were forced to wait for as long as 3 months before receiving the seedlings. Joyce saw this gap and established the China-Kenya Horticultural Lab that produces high-quality banana seedlings through the science of banana tissue culture, complete with a nursery farm and a 5-acre demonstration farm in Mogotio, Baringo County.
We get them. We can get like say 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 plants from the lab. We remove them from the jars, we wash them, and then we plant them individually in these trays.
Tissue culture is undertaken in specialized laboratories where high standards of sterile are enforced to ensure new plantlets are completely free of pest and disease agents like bacteria and fungi.
Once you put your plant in this media, after 4 weeks,
they'll have given you this result. They've given you many more babies.
The process consists of 5 important steps: initiation, multiplication, shooting, and rooting.
In our growth rooms, you have to maintain the temperatures for your plants. For the bananas, the temperature has to be between 28 and 30 degrees.
Tissue culture plantlets are fragile, and their thriving depends on good management by nursery operators and farmers, especially in early stages.
Tissue culture is basically you multiplying an existing plant. You're not adding any genes to it, you're not removing anything at all.
These plants are to be grown in the secondary nursery for 8 to 12 weeks prior to planting in the main field.
Basically is what a banana plantation looks like. The idea is to start a mother block, a place where we can be able to conserve the banana material, a source of plants. Anytime we want to multiply in the lab, we can come and source them from here.
To safeguard sustainable banana production and generate wealth for smallholder farmers, high-quality planting material is crucial.
Banana is not a very sensitive crop. You can intercrop with other things. As you can see, we've done a few purples. You'll see some passion fruits. So basically, we want it to be like an orchard of sorts.
Joyce says she's not yet done, as she has set her eyes in setting up a banana processing plant for value addition purposes.
Changing weather patterns due to global warming is making it difficult for farmers to continue growing crops in their traditional way of following particular seasons. But with the application of science like tissue culture, bananas might soon be replacing maize at the table, as it makes it easy to grow bananas. Philip Keitan for the Next Frontier.
Thank you, Philip, always with the latest lowdown in the latest trends in agriculture. Meanwhile, at least 60 employees have been laid off at Kenya's second largest telecommunications operator, Airtel Kenya. The sacking saw sales territory managers let off, even as the company moves in to streamline its operations. Take a look.
The telecommunications sector has kicked off to a rather rocky start, with Airtel Kenya being the latest to lay off about 60 employees. The firm says the move is part of its restructuring initiative, which will also see it merge some of its departments in a bid to realign its operations. Airtel's CEO Adil El Yusuf notes that the move was necessary as the firm places a lead on its operational costs in an environment where competition has been hotting up. The company says the retrenchment was necessary since the telecom firm had to realign its structure with its operating model. Bharti Airtel has been facing stiff competition in a number of African countries. The firm is currently in talks with Orange to sell off 2 of its subsidiaries in Burkina Faso and Sierra Leone to the France-based Telcom. Airtel Kenya joins its competitor Orange, which announced in December that it would lay off close to 500 employees as it prepares to sell its business to private equity firm Helios. As a way of helping the affected staff members during the transition, the company is compensating above what is prescribed by the prevailing laws. Airtel Kenya has contracted a reputable organization to offer job search services and provide the training that they would need to find new opportunities. The company will meet the full cost of this support. Abi Agina, KTN Business Today.
A very good evening and indeed a warm welcome to tonight's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Lynn Washira. Formula Golf champion Tejas Hirani is looking to better his performances and make history in racing as he begins a new season in 2016. The 17-year-old, who was signed to MSE Augsburg, also hopes to compete in the Kenya National Rally before the year ends. Robinson Okenya spoke to him and files the following report.
O'Gannon, Tejas takes a narrow line through there. It's Ahmed O'Gannon.
Tejas Hirani has been Kenya's breakout star in the world of international racing. The youngster translated his domestic success to the international scene in 2015, making him the youngest African driver to compete within the highest levels of world rallycross.
It's been a great year, one of the biggest I may add. How did I achieve it? Hard work, passion, determination, again waking up early in the morning to go to the gym. I'm happy I won the championship. It's been great. It was a great learning experience in terms of skill on different disciplines.
In 2015, Tejas competed in Rally Raid, Autocross and Formula Gulf in the United Arab Emirates, where he was crowned the champion on the winning day, becoming the first African in history to win an international motorsport championship.
It feels great to make history for now the whole of Africa, seeing as I've already made history for Kenya. I want to put Africa, Kenya, mainly Kenya, back on the maps in the world. So I'm really looking forward to doing it.
Recently signed to Olsberg MSC, the youngster is hoping to add more accolades to his already blistering career.
My first year, so it's a bit difficult learning about the car still. Also, no, because I've never been to tracks. The only track I've been to this year is Spain. That's it. Never other tracks. So for me to learn about other tracks is during the race meetings will be difficult to cope with as well. But I may have a chance. Let's see. Don't cross fingers.
Tejas was named the 2013 Most Promising Personality at the Soy Awards. He's looking forward to competing in the Kenya National Rally in the future.
So when I'm back in November, I'll definitely do a few rallies and then see if I can beat some people.
Tejas' 2016 season will take off at the RX Lights in Montalegre, Portugal in April. Robinson Okenya, KTN Sports.
And we cross over to Kisii now, where Menyinkwa FC came from behind to beat Equity FC 3-2 in a thrilling Kisii County Boda Football Cup finals at the Gusii Stadium. Equity FC dominated the first half, leading with 2-0 courtesy of Godfrey Okwena and Cosmas Aaron. Menyinkwa was, however, the best team after the breather with Shadrach Bida, netting in a hat-trick to help his team lift the trophy. The tournament that kicked off in November attracted a total of 32 teams comprised of Boda riders in Kisii County.
Vijana ndugu zangu, kwamba hii mchezo wa futibali ni mchezo mzuri kwa maana unaleta talent na pia unaleta discipline.
And well, the Kenya Cup Rugby Tournament, of course, entered week 7 this past weekend with a total of 7 interesting and some not so interesting matches lined up across the country. And of course, just to have a look at how the standings look like after the round of 7 is we have Impala Saracens, of course, having cemented their lead at the top of the standings, of course, courtesy of beating KCB, who are the defending champions this past weekend. We have Kenya Harlequins coming in second with a total of 27 points. Defending champions KCB trying to catch up, of course, with the top 2 leaders. Coming in third, we have Top Fry Nakuru, having played 7 matches as well. Won 5, drawn 0 and lost 2 matches for a total of 25 points. We have Strathmore and Homeboys having played a total of 6 matches each, owing to a match against Strathmore and Homeboys that was cancelled due to the passing on of the former Strathmore captain Henry Githaiga. Those 2 teams having played 6 matches, and of course with Strathmore at 24 points, are tied there with Homeboys. And the bottom of the table, or rather the other half of the table, we have Nondis coming in there at 19 points. Cabras, of course, who were runner-up last year, doing not so well. I do remember they lost to Homeboys RFC at home in Kakamega. We have Blackblood 10th, Western Bulls, they are Mean Machine 12th, 13th, Thika and Bungoma Sharks at the bottom of the table with 0 points from 0 wins. And that's how the Kenya Cup Rugby League standings look like after the 7th round of matches this past weekend.
no longer because I've bought Mortin Doom Power Guard, which kills 100% mosquitoes. Mortin Doom Power Guard kills 100% mosquitoes.
Justice Willie Mutunga swore in the new commissioners to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, with Philip Kinisu as the new chairman, replacing Mumo Matemu, who left in acrimonious circumstances, as did many others before him. And on the big question tonight, we asked you, do you believe that the revamped EACC will now deliver? Alan Leyen on Twitter says, I'm sure they will be twisted by government and politicians for their own selfish gains. Kelvin Mungai says, it may, but chances are that it will not. It's a change of passengers, but the car is still the same. Mulunje on Twitter says it's just a wait-and-see situation because these institutions seem to have lost their independence. Gerald Njeru tweets, given room and free atmosphere without any influence, they can do the job. And Georgia Yek on Twitter says they will not. Kenya is a politicized country. You either dance their tune or they kick you out. Financial analyst Karethi Muremi says Kinisu did it in the PwC, that is the PricewaterhouseCoopers. You must do it in EACC with full PSC and PIC support. Erastus Mulu, EACC new commissioners, same old structure, nothing much to celebrate, waste of our tax. And Rennie Sibo says, no, I don't believe the revamped EACC will now deliver unless politicians stay out of their way. Those are your opinions. Many thanks. And thanks for watching KTN Prime tonight. I'm Ben Kitili. Good night from the KTN News Center.